Friends, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about what these are, why I built them, and all the great things that they provide. Start with some ground rules when it comes to this video. Number one, don't talk about how happy or sad my plants look. The leaves are a little droopy, but if you were here at 6 in the morning, you would see everything's perky and beautiful. Additionally, whatever's going on back there, don't worry about it, okay? Is it in the shot? Maybe, right? Don't worry about it. Okay, all right, let's talk about what we built these out of. 2x6, pressure treated lumber, ground contact, corrugated sheet metal. We used some deck screws, some L brackets under here so I could sit my fat ass on the ledge. I actually built these when I was, we're gonna call it 7 months pregnant. So it wasn't a very labor intensive project, so to speak. Oh, it costs $150 per bed, okay? So that's just, you know, all the raw materials that we had to buy. What we didn't have to buy: deck screws, a drill, you know, an angle grinder or tin snips to cut this roof, you know, the circular saw to cut these things. We already had all that. We did end up throwing a stain on it later, add in, you know, 20 bucks or whatever for the stain. So you'll come in under $200 building these things if you've got some tools, you know, in your shed already. So worth it. All right, next topic, how we filled these garden beds. I'm a millennial, I'm broke as I'm not filling these with a bunch of bougie stuff from some garden center or hardware store if I can avoid it, right? So we needed to do a couple things. Because we weren't going to be planting directly into the ground, we needed to build in our own drainage. You're essentially trying to like kind of recreate a forest floor, right? So what we did was we went out into the woods and loaded up as many dead rotting logs, the funkier the better, into our blazer. 85 square body, you already know. Brought it back, put them in here. What does that provide? Number one, drainage. Number two, took up like half of the space. That's way less stuff I gotta put in the bed from the store. And three, all those microbes and those super funky fungus weird stuff on there helps my soil, and it helps those natural processes that would occur in the ground occur up here. The next thing we did was filled in the dead space between the logs with stuff like pine cones, dried leaves, other organic matter that's not as bulky as the logs were, but it's not like grass clippings, right? That's not going to cut it. Because what you don't want is when you get soil, you don't want it to just fall through the logs onto the ground, because that's kind of a waste. So you want something to kind of catch it. What I would avoid, especially if you're in North Carolina, is using too much pine straw, because that's going to make your soil super acidic. And if you're growing stuff that's just like straight native to North Carolina, like raspberries, blackberries, whatever, blueberries, and you don't mind the acidic soil, like knock yourself out with the pine straw. If you're trying to grow like vegetables and stuff, easy on the pine straw. So pine cones, really good. And then from there we went out again and just filled contractor bags up with native soil, and that got me to where I was about 4 inches or less from the top of these beds. And then that's when I dropped, I don't even know how much, because I've like mentally dissociated from it, but to fill 4 inches of a 4 foot by 8 foot garden bed with big box topsoil and planter bed mix is not cheap. The more native soil you can get your hands on, the better. But we filled, like I said, we filled the rest up with the big box soil, what little compost I had that was ready at the time. And now as we rotate crops through these garden beds, I kind of plus it up with compost, and I really don't need to buy any more of the big box soil. One addition that I did make, and we'll check it out over here, is mulching these beds with some extra wheat straw that I had left over from when we mulched the in-ground garden. So this is a little experiment to see if mulching is helping, but I do notice that the garden beds hold their moisture a lot better than like our in-ground garden does, or some of our berry bushes were doing before we mulched them. You see Murph in the background out patrolling the backyard homestead. He does absolutely nothing of value for this place. What we're going to talk about now is these PVC hoops. If you've seen any of my other videos, I'm pretty big on stuff that's dual purpose, and let me tell you, these things, very dual purpose. What you can't see under this thing is this piece of rebar that I have. It's not actually like more than 2 feet tall. This is probably, yeah, it's actually like a little bit shorter than my garden bed, but I have managed to find a little log or something for this thing to get stuck on. So it gives me some clearance, and then I can just pop the PVC over. And this hoop is maintaining its shape now, but this was a straight PVC bar when we bought it. Super easy to bend this thing and get it to do what you want. So we've got enough to have 3 of these per bed. They do a couple of things for us. Number one, when we're going to plant in the spring, I get super excited and I like to plant early. We put these up and we draped some plastic like drop cloth over it. We had some left over from like a renovation project we did in the house that we probably didn't like pull the right permits for. But we put that plastic sheeting over this stuff, this PVC, and that prevented frost from getting on my little seedlings. So there's that. You can put insect netting over this. You could put shade cloth over this. Especially where this is, it's under the sun all day long. So if there's anything in here that's not full sun, it's probably gonna die. And it has, and I've learned that the hard way. But what we have on there now is some plastic trellis netting that I got from like Tractor Supply. Real bang up job. Over there it's got, you know, tomato plants, cucumbers, all this stuff. Over here it's kind of supporting the peppers, which is nice, probably not necessary, but it's there. And then you can move the rebar around, you can space the hoops at different intervals, you can add more, and if you don't need them and you don't like the way they look for your like dinner party or whatever, you can throw them in your shed and like no one's gonna know. So yeah, a multi-purpose addition, fairly cheap to the garden beds, that I couldn't recommend enough. All right, friends, that's it for today. Another quick one talking about our garden beds, how we built them, why we built them, how we modified them, and what they do for us. And I cannot recommend these things enough, especially if you're in a state like North Carolina where the soil isn't always as ideal for all the different things that we want to grow in our backyard. You can create your own little ecosystem in here that serves you kind of like year round and year after year. So don't worry about your resale value on your home. You know what I mean? Like, just find some millennial buyers who are looking to cut down on their grocery bill. But if not, you know, you can always break these things down, pack them up in the moving truck, and take them to your next place. So these are great, and there's really no reason not to build them. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and I might make another video next week. I haven't really decided.